This is what we live for, people. We are less than 2 weeks away from the NFL season kicking off, and we are in the thick of fantasy football draft season. You may have a draft today, you may have a draft tomorrow, or if you're like me, you've got one every day of the week. It is like Christmas to fantasy football fanatics, and guys, I couldn't be happier. And on today's episode of the Regression to the Mean podcast, I will not be your host. For the second time in our podcast history, I'm handing over the baton to my good friend, fellow knower of ball, and the man who has a mustache so good that one of our listeners commented saying, Keegan's mustache fucks. Keegan Thompson, hell of an intro here. You are our host for today's episode. Why don't you tell the people what we were getting into today?
Yeah, first off, shout out to the person who comments about my mustache. That was one of the many comments directed towards me, but it was the only nice one commented directed towards me. So I will take that. But thank you so much for the intro there, Shaun. Aiden, before I get into it, how are you doing today, man?
I'm exhausted. I
coming back from a live draft.
Yeah, a 3-day battle in Nashville. Out there live drafting. It was a blast. The voice doesn't sound great. It's been better, but I'm ready to rock, man. I'm excited to hear Shaun's picks.
Cool.
Still got some redrafts, so maybe steal some nuggets from him.
Yeah, let's see if we can decipher if Shaun's being truthful or not. Because today Shaun is going to go through. We're doing 12 rounds, correct, Shaun?
Correct. Round by round.
12 rounds, round by round. Shaun's favorite picks in each round of fantasy drafts this year. You've heard Aiden's. By the time this comes out, you'll have heard mine, and then you're also going to hear the head ball knower in charge, Shaun Moran's favorite picks round by round. Before we get into that, I want to acknowledge the many new Mean Team members that have joined over the past couple of days. There has been a bountiful amount of new subs, lots of comments coming in from the videos, good or bad. We appreciate it. To everybody who has clicked that like button or sub to the channel, welcome. You're officially part of the Mean Team. And for those who haven't joined yet, don't miss out. Be like the Mean Team. Subscribe. If you enjoy the video, toss it a like. If you don't enjoy our takes, make a comment. We're always curious to hear what you guys are thinking. But seriously, just a moment of gratefulness. Thank you to those who have subscribed. We've been working really hard on this the past couple of years. Shaun had a harebrained idea to have a fantasy football podcast in his free time. And honestly, I couldn't have imagined that we'd be here so fast in just 2.5 years, only about a year of serious YouTube posting. So thanks for everyone subscribing, spending some time with us. And if you haven't, join the party. It's a lot of fun. We're putting our best foot forward here out there in the football streets, in the fantasy knowledge space. So give us a like, toss us a sub. But I'll end my plea for new subs and likes and engagement. And let's kick things off, Shaun, with your favorite pick in round one.
All right, so I'm not pandering here. All right, this is not a pandering pick because for the first time in RTM history, a New York Jet is going to be featured as the favorite pick in a round of fantasy football. Maybe you've picked Gary Wilson. I don't know. But for me, at least, I am all in on a certain Jet player, and that player is none other than Breece Hall. All right, guys. So last year, Breece Hall, he averaged 17 fantasy points per game, which was good for the RB6 on a points per game basis. How many TDs do you think the New York Jets scored in 2023?
17. I forget the number.
Wow,
Jayden?
I was going to say like mid-20s. Give me 26.
22 touchdowns.
Yeah.
There we go.
Breece Hall, in his first season off the torn ACL, playing behind a banged-up offensive line in a Zach Wilson offense who was slowly being worked back into the offense after his ACL injury, averaged 17 fantasy points per game in an offense that totaled 22 total touchdowns. That's bullish. That's bullish. That's bullish, all right? This man is a freak, and when it comes to breaking tackles and explosive runs, he's probably the best running back in the NFL. I was going through a lot of his stats. I had no idea he had a 2 yards per route run as a receiver. This man has legit legit pass catching chops as a running back. And really, at the end of the day, the Jets are going to score more than 22 touchdowns in 2024. And I think Breece is about to go nuts. You can get him in the middle of the first round. I think running backs, though wide receiver has become more important, the top tier running backs are now more important than ever because there's less of them. There are less workhorses. There are less explosive backs. And Breece Hall, I think, is the cream of the crop. You're going to get him in the middle of the first round on Sleeper. I'm all in on Breece Hall, guys. How are you guys feeling about Breece Hall? Like, I'm very him better than Bijan. Like, that's my take. Am I out on a limb by saying that?
I think you should be taking Breece over Bijan. There's only 3 running backs I'm comfortable taking in the first round. CMC, obviously, Breece, who I'd put, firmly as number 2, and then Bijan is my 3. So I like it. I've been opting to go wide receiver personally, but I think, Breece was awesome last year in a truly, truly terrible offense. So I like it. I think he could go absolutely nuts this year, assuming Aaron Rodgers plays, all season and is even 80, 70% of the player that he used to be in Green Bay.
Keegan,
Yeah.
am I going to get hurt? Or is this the year?
There's absolutely no way this could hurt you, right? A New York Jet with top first round draft capital, no way it hurts you, right? But I think all the things you said can be applied to this year as well. I mean, 95 targets last year. That's the number that stands out to me. 95 targets as a running back is pretty insane. And when I'm thinking about how to start a draft this year, there's a lot of wide receiver value still getting pushed down. We talked about it in our previous videos, like your home league does not draft how maybe you're drafting in best ball, or maybe in your more competitive high stakes fantasy leagues. Running backs are going to get shoved up the boards, and it's very hard to get a game changer like Breece Hall if you miss the boat in the first round. I think there was a clear tier drop off too after CMC, Tyreek, CD, however you want to split those 3. And so after that, what am I trying to do? I need upside. I think Breece is one of the few players in the first round that I could see like a very high probability of him being the number 1 player in fantasy this year. And I can't say that for much of the rest of the first round. So I love this pick. Team no bias though.
No bias.
He reminds me of Dalvin Cook. Remember, Dalvin Cook looked really good as a rookie, tore his ACL.
Yeah.
And then year 3 just went crazy. Like, I was all in on Breece Hall, the rookie. Like, I'm still hurt from him tearing his ACL. I still think of Sarah McLaughlin's in the arms of an angel, like what could have been. But this is it, man. The Breece the Beast, Breece Lightning, it's happening in year 3. So he's my favorite pick in round 1.
Yeah, we should have a top 10 offensive line. Not we. They should have a top 10 offensive line this year.
You're on the team.
You're on the team, damn it.
You're on the team.
Yeah, but I think all things are good. But I love that. That's a hot start, Shaun. Moving on to round 2, how are you taking the approach in round 2? Is it time to start thinking wide receiver? Are you double dipping at running back? What's your favorite pick in this round here?
Yeah, so my favorite pick has got to be Saquon Barkley. No, I'm kidding.
I was
definitely
gonna
not.
Shit. I was like, no way.
You said that with a lot of conviction. You had Aiden fooled there.
No. Okay, so it's definitely another running back, and we did this in our mock draft. This was like my dream start. So in round 2, my favorite pick, and it's my favorite pick in all of fantasy football, and what could go wrong with a player with this profile, and that's Devon Achane.
Yeah, it was
A lot of people in fantasy football like to think of it like an investing portfolio. The whole phrase, you never go broke taking a profit, right? And that's true in investing. But in fantasy football, that's not what you're trying to do. You're trying to hit a grand slam. You're trying to draft the highest upside players. You're not trying to play it safe. And Devon Achane is that argument. He is the high upside play. He could burn you, ridiculously burn you. He's technically the backup running back to Raheem Mostert. They're running him out wide. He got hurt every other play, it felt like, with a knee injury. And we didn't even see him get hurt. Those are the worst injuries. It's like, what do you mean? He tweaked his knee. He was just walking. Like, what happened here? So there's plenty of risk baked in with Devon Achane. But the reason I'm all in, the first one, and it's a meme amongst this group, but if you're a new viewer of this channel, I'm a big proponent of the year 2 running back theory. And really, this running bit is I'll just blindly close my eyes and just draft the year 2 running back. Like, if you go back over the years, you can pretty much just set your watch to running backs in year 2 outproducing their ADP. Like, that's where the breakouts happen. And when you combine that fact that we have a running back here who just had the single most efficient rookie RB season of all time, where he scored 23 fantasy points per game in 5 out of 11 games, he dropped a 50 burger, and he comes into the season as the most explosive player in Mike McDaniel's kind of transcendent rushing attack. I mean, you've got my favorite pick in all of fantasy. So I'm all in on Achane. I know this is kind of like beating a dead horse at this point with this pick, but Keegan, this was your favorite pick in round 2. You're all in. Aiden, you just took him in your draft that you had over this weekend. Are we just all in on Achane at this point?
Yeah, that's an awesome pick. Especially like towards the end of the second round, even the middle of the second round. Like you start with a nice wide receiver and then you get him as your running back one. I think it's, pretty powerful start. So
Pretty
but
powerful.
we are a very pro Achane pod here. There are no gripes for me on that one.
Okay. I'm sure our new YouTube audience, I don't know if they've heard me spread the book of A Rich and Achane.
It's
I'm
been about
very curious to know how
months
they'll
of
handle
this.
it. Yeah, I don't know how they'll
Yes.
handle it. I'm curious to see it in action.
I don't have anything to add to this. Like I said, or like you said, it's my favorite pick in the second round as well, Stu. So let's go ahead and move on to your favorite pick in the third round here, Mr. Moran.
All right. This is another. No, not another. Well, I guess this is the second no bias selection for this podcast, and my favorite pick in all of round 3 this year is none other than Deebo Samuel Senior. He's a senior now, guys. He wears the number 1. And he's got a senior on his jersey. That's a big deal.
Oh my gosh,
That's
seeing him wear number 1 tripped me out. I totally forgot that was happening, and I was like, Deebo number 1, adjust the ranks.
I don't like
it. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. I don't know how I'm going to approach it, but hey, look, at the end of the day, last season on a point per game basis, Deebo Samuel averaged 16.2 fantasy points per game. What do you guys think Ayuk averaged on a point per game basis?
Like 0.2 more.
15.2. So Ayuk is a better wide receiver. There's no denying that. Ayuk is the aesthetic of a wide receiver, beating man coverage, amazing route runner. He's an amazing wide receiver. But for fantasy purposes, Deebo Samuel is just flat out better. And when you combine that with the fact that Ayuk hasn't practiced all offseason, and Deebo came into this offseason lean, in shape, and he tore it up from start to finish, just means I'm all in, right? I'm a 49er fan. This offseason has sucked. The only bright spot has been none other than Deebo Samuel. Tyson, I think his name, right? Like they're so, when people always like say the full names of players and it's like the corniest thing ever. But yeah, Tyson Samuel. That's who I'm in on, guys.
Is that his actual
Aiden,
name?
I know you're all in on Ayuk. Have I started to persuade you on the book of Deebo, or are you still unwavering and your 10 toes standing with Ayuk?
I think not only am I still team Ayuk, you got Nico right there, who was my favorite pick in the third round. They're 2 picks apart in terms of ADP, and it's like that's way more of an alpha in his offense. So I like Deebo. Like he's been awesome, touchdown machine, like we talked about. Like the dream is Jayden Reed. Turns out to have a career like Deebo where it's just like runs extremely hot on touchdowns. But I also think he gets banged up too. He plays, running back, 20-30% of his snaps,
yeah,
like maybe not quite. So I like Deebo. I think he's always super productive, but I look elsewhere, with my first or second choices in the third round myself.
Third round Deebo feels pretty good to me this year.
I agree. He was going round 2 last year. Probably, yeah.
I think like round 5, because he had a bad year the year before.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
Yeah, I don't have much to add because I'm a big fan of Deebo this year. I'm also a big fan of Ayuk. I just want to make that clear for the listeners. Sometimes they hear us say one thing and they think we're against the other, but I'm in favor of both. But I think round 3 Deebo is pretty special, especially because it's the manufactured touches, right? It's the rush attempts in the red zone. It's like getting in the ball in space, the way the 49ers give him opportunities to score. Ayuk has to do a lot more of that downfield, like grimy work, and they just set up Deebo to score. And it matters most in fantasy football because we want touchdowns. We want players that are going to score touchdowns, and Deebo's going to probably score a lot of them again. So,
speaking my language, Keegan.
Touchdowns, and more freaking touchdowns.
Aiden, I haven't had the chance to listen yet. How much crossover there has been? Because I had Achane in round 2. What were your round 1, 2, 3? Is there any crossover here, Shaun?
No, not with me and Shaun. I went Jettas, ETN, Nico.
Okay. So we've all had a little bit of crossover here. Shaun, why don't you take us into round 4 of the fantasy football draft? Enter into your mind. Who are you clicking every time?
I don't think you need. Wow, that was amazing. You rhymed. But I don't know what needs to come into my mind because it's going to be a lot of Trey McBride. I don't know if you're ready to think about Trey McBride in round 4.
I have no idea where you're going here.
As much as I do, but man, I you guys know Trey McBride was like one of my serious darlings of the end of last year, and let's just run this back. Let's just run back 2023 for Trey McBride. So Zach Ertz gets phased out of the offense starting in week 6, right? That's where his snap counts start to go down. From week 6 on, Trey McBride ranked 2nd in target percentage, 6th in air yard share, 1st in targets per route run, 4th in yards, 5th in yards per route run, and 1st in first read target share amongst all tight ends. It's pretty good, right? We all like that. That's good to see. Well, I've got another one. Kyler Murray returns to the lineup in week 10. From week 10 on, Trey McBride finished 2nd in fantasy points per game, 1st in yards per game, 1st in target percentage, 1st in first read target percentage, and 1st in first downs per route run. Like, look, I just threw a shit ton of stats at you in gibberish, but the moral of the story, mean team, is go draft Trey McBride. This guy is awesome, and Kyler Murray adores him. So go draft Trey McBride.
Do you have any immediate concerns about rookie Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Oh, of course Marvin Harrison's going to be a target hog. But the Cardinals' offense was anemic last year. Like, it wasn't good. So they're going to throw the ball more. They were one of the run-heaviest offenses in all the NFL last year. They're going to open it up more. They're going to be airing it out. They're going to have one of the worst defenses in the NFL. They're going to be throwing the ball around. They're playing indoors. And Trey McBride, I cannot stress this enough to you guys, is really fucking good. He's good at football. He's so good at football.
Next question. Any concern about spending a 4th-round pick on a position like tight end? Knowing what we know about points per game basis on tight ends and the drop-off from the elite tight end, because to me, if you're drafting Trey McBride in the 4th, you are assuming, 1, he's going to play above that, and 2, he's probably going to be tight end 1 on the season. So is that your bet for this year?
Oh, he needs to just finish top 3. I don't think he has to be tight end 1. I think Kelsey's going in the 3rd. Laporta's going in the 3rd. McBride and Andrews go in the 4th. And because he's end of the 4th. He's last pick in the 4th in ADP.
Yeah, I would say the same thing for Kelsey and Laporta. If somebody told me that was their favorite pick in the 3rd round, I'm like, okay, so you're betting on them to have a extreme, because the statistics, as we know, like tight end points over replacement, how they compare to the back half of the tight ends, the margin is very slim for being an elite tight end. And the points per game you get from a player like a wide receiver or potentially running back in the 4th round, which there are many good ones, or a quarterback, the differential could also burn you. So you're putting your stake in the ground for Trey McBride here in the 4th round.
100%. I'm trying to build a super team. I want to walk away with at least 1 running back, 3 wide receivers, a quarterback, and a tight end in the first 7 picks. Now, if I don't do that and I take a tight end earlier, it means I'll probably wait and take another quarterback, who's one of my favorite picks, later on. Like, there are ways to do this. But I think that I can scoop up more wide receiver value later on in the draft based off how deep the position is. And I don't think you can just go find a Trey McBride in the 8th or 9th round, but I can find someone comparable to Chris Godwin that goes in like the 4th and the 5th, right? So I feel really good about Trey McBride, and I want to build out a super team, and that means having an elite tight end. And man, Trey McBride was fucking awesome last year. So I just want him in year 3, and I think a very fun Cardinals offense.
Fair. Aiden, any thoughts before he tells us that his favorite pick in 5th round is Anthony Richardson?
No, yeah, we already know that one's coming.
It's not A-Rich. It isn't A-Rich, boys.
Is there any world where you would take Trey over the 2 tight ends ahead of him? Like, would you reach at all for him, or is it more like, I'm only taking him if he's here at ADP?
No, I don't need to reach for him. I just think, like, if you had the 1st pick in the draft and you took or the 2nd pick, and you have like CeeDee Lamb, maybe you have Devon Achane, you have Deebo Samuel, and then you get to just take Trey McBride in the 4th round. Like, come on, that's a peak in my opinion. Like, I'm all in right there.
Yeah, that's a fun start.
I agree. So it's not A-Rich.
No,
it's been A-Rich for many months in this range.
It's not A-Rich.
What is your favorite pick in the 5th round, Shaun?
As many felonies,
I could have seen this coming.
As many felonies as we've got TDs, boys. It is Rashee Rice. Now, he's technically going in the 7th round in ADP. So I am telling the listeners that you're going to have to if you want Rice, you're going to have to move up the board and take him in the 5th or the 4th. We just did a 10-man league. I took him in the 5th round in that league, right? Now, again, some people are like looming suspension, putting people in bodily harm. They're probably going to weigh, I don't know, it's kind of sketch, but so he might fall. So he's technically on the board as a 7th round pick. I'm putting him in as a 5th round pick because the upside is just ridiculous. Like Rashee Rice, he was a top 12 wide receiver in fantasy from week 12 on last season once he became a full-time player. He's a yak beast who feasts on underneath stuff, and he's really good out of structure. And guess what? He's playing with the greatest out of structure quarterback of all time. It also doesn't hurt that in the preseason, when he played with Patrick Mahomes, he was targeted on 38% of his routes. He could be suspended. He could not. But fantasy football is not about taking profits. It's about hitting big. Rashee Rice gives you that. If there was no looming suspension, this guy's a 3rd round pick. I'm smashing the draft button on Rashee Rice. And I don't even want to. Keegan's trying to tell you, listeners, that he isn't good. I will not stand for that. If he wants to say that he's a bad person, hey, I don't know the guy, but it doesn't sound great from what I've read. But if he wants to say that he isn't good, we had a draft where we shared a king size bed together. We were bunking. And I watched every single touch of Rashee Rice's season last year. And I was like, Keegan, watch this. You better watch this. And I feel vindicated after watching that 30-minute video on Rashee Rice. I know there's been a little bit of capitulation, Keegan. What are your thoughts on Rice before Aiden gives his kind of final thoughts on Rice before we start the season?
I'll wave the white flag on saying that the process to pick him is bad. I think at this point he's probably going to play most of the season. So to not be drafting Rashee Rice all summer might burn me a little bit, especially in the best ball portfolio. I have almost 0%. Just because I've been assuming suspension. I still don't think he's some outstanding game-breaking wide receiver, but tied to Patrick Mahomes, yards after catch, Andy Reid offense, it's a recipe for success at the wide receiver position. Hollywood Brown getting injured definitely sucks for my take as well, too. That was not great. He's going to be slower out of the gates. Worthy still is a rookie, and Travis Kelce is probably not going to play any serious snaps. He will play snaps. But you know what I mean?
They're saving him.
They're going to save him for most of the year. So, I'll capitulate that he's a good pick. I won't capitulate that I still don't think he's anything more than just an average NFL wide receiver.
5th round. I'm not taking him there. I've never thought he's bad, but the bull case that you see is not the case that I see. There's guys there, you've got Malik Neighbors, you've got A-Rich, guys like Amari Cooper. I'm not taking Rice over those guys, but you make good points for him. I don't know how he evaded the suspension this year. It's beyond me that nothing happened in 7 months.
Dude, Zay Jones just got a 5-game suspension for domestic stuff, and that happened quick.
Yeah,
I mean, Rashee Rice could have killed somebody.
Half a season.
Rice is going to get it's going to be pretty rough.
He's going to get 8.
Next year.
No, I get your point, but I can't do it there. Not in the 5th.
Just take Worthy the round later.
Well, we'll talk about Xavier Worthy later.
Oh my God. All right. Well, let's close the book on Rashee Rice. We've spent the past 2 months worth of recordings talking about him and going at each other. I'll wave the white flag. He's probably a good pick here this year in redraft, but I've said my piece on that. So moving into round 6, Shaun, right now we're staring at a team of Breece Hall, Devon Achane, Deebo Samuel, Trey McBride, Rashee Rice, and who is the 6th pick to fill out this roster?
Oh my God, you just said that. I just got goosebumps thinking about it as one roster. That was insane. As you guys know, as you guys can pick up, I have an insane risk tolerance as a human being. Just I buy meme coins. I'm a degen, so this is not going to be for everybody here. Aiden is the much more mutual funds, ETFs. He's a very steady Eddie guy. Safe. All right, so if you were a safe guy, listen to Aiden, not me. Okay, so 6th round pick. This is why I can't draft A-Rich in the 5th. It's so hard. I love A-Rich so much, but it's going to be growing pains, man. He just separated his shoulder. I'm going to take A-Rich. I'm not going to be leaving drafts out him. I love the guy, but Kyler has the kind of the same upside. He's around cheaper and he's done it before. And the vibes are just more consistent with Kyler right now. And I made all these points about this Cardinals offense, but guys, Kyler has a full complement of weapons. You know, he's got superstar Greg Dortch. No, he's got Marvin Harrison, Greg Dortch, Michael
you say
Wilson,
his name.
Trey
You will
McBride.
respect Greg Dortch.
He's got James Conner. They have Trey Benson playing backup running back. Like guys, this is a good offense. He plays indoors. He's a year removed from his ACL tear. He's playing with a good offensive coordinator in Drew Petzing. And the team, the most important thing is the team has a terrible defense. Terrible. Like, this is a shootout team through and through. Draft Kyler Murray. I'm all in on Murray in the 6th round.
Yeah, this was my pick here. So I'm not going to beat the dead horse here. I love Kyler. I came home with him this weekend on the roster. So no, you do not have to sell me here, Shaun. I think Kyler is an absolutely awesome pick in terms of, you know, where he's getting drafted and where he's already proven he can finish in past years. So, nope, sign me up, brother.
Yeah, no thoughts. I think we're all pretty in on Kyler Murray and the Cardinals this year for a fantasy offense. So I like that. I like the pivot. We've been talking about A-Rich all summer, specifically in best ball. It's kind of like, I think, how we've been talking about it more. I still love A-Rich in that 5th round, but
too.
I get it. Lower the risk tolerance a little bit, wait around, get something very similar, rushing upside. I mean, their offense was a top 10 offense when he got back to the roster and was playing last year down the stretch. So this is going to be a really good football team to watch for fantasy purposes. What are you? You're just wrapped up in the Sims right now. I see your eyes just locked in on the Sims.
No, I'm waiting. I'm not the host. Keegan Thompson.
It looked like you were getting ready to say something else, but you've got your quarterback now. A little stack of the Arizona Cardinals, little tight end quarterback action there on the team. What are you doing in the next round, Shaun?
So, hey, you take Rashee Rice and you're worried, hey, what if this doesn't work out? Well, I've got a plan for you. You take Xavier Worthy in the 7th.
Out of control.
You do it. You take both of them. You do it. You do it every time. Like, okay, I talk about the bell curve meme all the time, about mid-curving it. But at the end of the day, okay, the fastest guy in the history of the NFL Combine is now playing with Patrick Mahomes. What are we doing here? Like, this just seems too easy. We're overthinking this. And I think at the end of the day, these speedy wide receivers, we're all just kind of like, John Ross, did they actually do anything? Like, are they actually good? Well, mean team, if you didn't watch Xavier Worthy play ball at Texas, this dude was really good from the second he stepped on the field. In 2021, he had 993 yards as a true freshman. A receiving dominator in a breakout age at 18 years old in that conference is a really big deal. And I think Xavier Worthy is legit good. He's going to be a deep threat. He's going to be excellent with the ball in his hands. Now, he does weigh 160 pounds. So he is fragile. Like, this is going to be scary when you watch him take any hits all year long. But man, this guy has just been getting peppered with targets. They're like hell-bent on pushing the ball downfield. Mahomes is so over these too high looks. He wants to push it. He has the speed to push it. And honestly, I just want all the shares of the Chiefs. I think Mahomes is going to have a crazy year this year. And I might, I want to take him in the 4th, but that's expensive. Why don't I get exposure with the Chiefs offense later on with Rice and Worthy? So that's where I'm at. Worthy, I just think it's a slam dunk. Keegan, I know that this was one of your guys in round 7. So there's some crossover there. Aiden, what are your thoughts on Worthy? Are you taking him in fantasy drafts this year?
I am, yeah. I am. I've liked what I've seen in the preseason. The prospect profile.
I am, yes.
Confirmed.
Yep.
Confirmed.
Awesome.
Confirmed.
I just think about what we saw with Tyreek Hill, his speed plus Patty Mahomes' deep ball, and it's like you can talk yourself into this one pretty easily. This is pretty slate breaking speed, so I like him here. This is probably my preference of the Chiefs wideouts. But no, I'm with you here. This is a good pick. I think he's going to be awesome.
Keegan, does he have any looming felonies?
No.
Okay.
As far as you know, the record is clean.
That's a feather in his cap as far as I'm concerned. He does not have any looming felonies that he has to deal with.
He's not dating a mega pop star. He doesn't have a shoulder injury. He's got no felonies, and he doesn't speak like Kermit the Frog. So by all counts and means, he is the most...
Just likes ball.
Yeah, he just likes catching the football.
Okay,
so 7 rounds. We've got 2 team stacks, 2 Chiefs, 2 Cardinals. We've got a 49er, a Dolphin, a a jet. What's next on the menu here in the 8th round, Shaun?
Hey, look, every great army, it needs a commander. All right, I've got
Oh
Brian
my God.
Robinson here as my
Jesus
favorite
Christ.
pick in the 8th round. Okay, this is a tie because I also like cheating.
You know,
I
he
had tie-
wrote that. He wrote that. He was
No.
just like, "Fuck yeah."
No,
He's like,
that
"That's
was
tough."
pure. That was pure off the cuff. That's pure off off. What do they say? Off dome. That was off the dome. Okay, so this is kind of a tie because I also have Tajay Spears here. But I like look. I like Tajay year 2. Just close your eyes, throw the dartboard year 2. But at the end of the day, Brian Robinson. Man, I just love these younger, cheaper backs in committees. Like Tony Pollard and Austin Eckler, sure, might have a role next year, but because they got paid. But I love these incumbents that showed juice, that were good last year, and that are cheaper because time and time again, usually the backs that are drafted after those backs in fantasy drafts, like JJ Zacharyson has done the study, those are the running backs that hit. So I love Brian Robinson. Like last year, Brian Robinson, he averaged 13 fantasy points per game, and he was the RB21. I would not have expected that considering how god-awful that Commanders team was last year. And I just feel like Brian Robinson is good at football. Like the guy got shot throughout his rookie year, and then last year he was really good.
He brought
Like
up the gunshot wound.
He did
That's
get
tough.
shot. That did happen. Many men.
That did happen.
But like if you look at his Sims, that's insane that he's got a 19.2 as his high, 11 in his mid, his PPR low is 7. I just feel like it's one of the best picks on the board. And if there's one thing that Cocaine Cliff does well, it's scheming up that run game. That run game is really good. Like what we saw Kenyon Drake be good with Cliff Kingsbury. We saw James Conner end my fantasy season every single year in perpetuity when Cliff Kingsbury was the OC. I just think Brian Robinson with Jayden Daniels, that's going to be a fun run game. And I think he gets after it. So I'm in on B-Rob. This has been one I've been 10 toes on. He's my most drafted player in all of best ball. I'm just in on Brian Robinson. I know it's kind of random, but what do you guys think?
Yeah, you've been keeping this close to the chest. I was not expecting that at all. And I didn't know that was your most drafted player in Underdog this summer.
Him and Ford.
I knew you've been drafting him a lot. I didn't know he was number 1. I did get goosebumps seeing 2016 David Johnson on this list. That was special. But I'm with you here. I like him. I took a pretty similar pick. Like my guy was Zach Moss here. 2 guys in pretty ambiguous backfields. I think the Bengals are going to be a better offense personally, which is why I kind of lean Moss here. But B-Rob was really good. The big unknown with Eckler is, he's probably washed, but like there is a chance that Eckler is just like still okay. Like returns to a similar role that he was playing in Los Angeles. Probably a little slower, but I'd rather take my bet on Moss. But again, this is someone I think I'm probably somewhere between 10, 12, 15% on B-Rob too. So super cheap, could, cruise into a running back 1 role if Eckler is just complete dust.
Yeah, I don't have like many thoughts on Brian Robinson. Like, of course, there's the rushing quarterback thing, and like that's the concern every time you have a good rushing quarterback. What's Jayden Daniels' red zone rush attempts going to look like? Is Brian Robinson get the opportunity to tote the rock on the goal line or like goal to go situations? So we'll see how that pans out. But I think in the 8th round, like you're overthinking it if you're considering that. It's different when you talk about Saquon like paying up really early or James Cook, but B-Rob at this point feels totally fine.
And Tajay. I really like Tajay too. I lean B-Rob.
Oh, you get one. No,
I know.
One.
Okay. B-Rob it is. B-Rob.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Well, moving on to the 9th round. Sorry to cut you off there, Shaun. 9th round.
This one sucks. This one sucks.
It sucks?
I hate it.
Okay.
I hate that this guy ended up on here. Like every year, there is an offense that no one is talking about during the offseason that wins leagues. And guys, it really pains me to say this, but I think it's the Seattle Seahawks. I think it's the Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, yeah.
We're all good here. As a Niner fan, it's just the worst. Like, I think they might have tapped into something. Like, Geno can absolutely sling it. Like, Ryan Grubb clearly wants to play up tempo with motion and aggressively push the ball downfield. This is a stark contrast to the Shane Waldron molasses double tight end offense the Seahawks ran last year. And because of all of that, I think I'm willing to set aside the pain that JSN caused me last year and take a dart throw at a year 2 wide receiver who I loved coming out of college. Like Matt Harmon said his film was actually really good. His underlying stuff in terms of his metrics were not that bad. Like, I think I'm ready to get hurt again with Jaxson, Smith, and Njigba. And it doesn't help that, he caught a ball 15 yards downfield last year. I mean, this preseason. But
Yeah.
I don't know,
over
guys.
the
We have
shoulder,
not talked
nice
about
drag. Yep.
Yes. We have not talked about JSN a lot on this show. What are you guys thinking?
Year 2, baby. I like him. I think we're like right around the corner from Tyler Lockett completely falling off a cliff. And then I think JSN and DK like really complement each other well. Love the new offensive scheme, like you said. So no, this is like 9th round. Yeah, absolutely, dude. That's like your wide receiver 5. Like you don't even have to play him. He's gonna be on the bench to start until he proves himself. It's very low risk for a guy that was an absolute maniac at Ohio State.
Yeah, big fan. Trying to get ahead of this, and like I made sure I drafted him a good amount in best ball this year. Like trying to potentially have him as a target for me in redraft as well too, because after watching a lot of Washington football last year, the ability that Ryan Grubb has to get 3 wide receivers involved in their game plan is like pretty outstanding. And Aiden's mentioned it too. The Tyler Lockett fall off is going to hit quicker, much sooner than we think. Honestly, like I know I've said about the Keenan age close stuff, like Devontae, but like Tyler Lockett is decreasing rapidly, and like all of the things that has made him such a really good fantasy wide receiver all dramatically dropping. Like he's just not the same threat as he is anymore, and your JSN's too good to not be involved in an offense. I think Ryan Grubb understands that as well too, and let's just hope they can dial up enough time for Geno to throw the ball. I'm all in on Jason this year.
The O-line's a concern, but like if you look at his reception profile, 70th percentile against man, 67th against zone, 60th against press. He lines up in the slot 80% of the time. This is the exact type of profile I like in PPR. So it pains me to have a Seahawk on this list, but I think I'm ready.
No bias though.
Again. I'm ready to get hurt again. I'm ready to get hurt again with JSN.
Yep. All right. So what we've got 3 picks left. So tell me about your favorite pick in round 10, Shaun.
I genuinely didn't really like this guy as a prospect, and I'm still really not sold on him as a quarterback. But at the end of the day, if you want to wait on quarterback and you like rushing quarterbacks that are Konami code and you just want to swing for the fences, I think Jayden Daniels is honestly one of the best picks you can make in all of fantasy this year. Like,
if you don't want to decide if Brian Robinson's going to score rushing touchdowns or not, just draft his quarterback, man.
Just draft his quarterback. Again, like one of the only reasons.
Eckler, baby. In comes Eckler.
Ben Sinnott, fullback dive. Anybody?
Yeah.
Give it to me. Okay, so like the only reason I don't have Anthony Richardson on this list is because I could take Kyler in the 6th or I could take Jayden in the 10th. Like, it's tough. I'm not even a big Jayden guy. I definitely don't love Cliff Kingsbury's screen attack. Like, all he does is run screens. But like at the end of the day, this dude's gonna rush for a shit ton of yards. And if he can get anything going as a passer, he's gonna print in fantasy football. And honestly, you could just swap out Caleb for Jayden if you want to at this point. Like, both of those rookie quarterbacks are awesome values around this range of the draft. So the guy's gonna rush for a ton of yards. Like, so it's just
no bias with Caleb, but Jayden, like ideally, like in a perfect world, he rushes for like.
You picked Caleb in yours?
I had Caleb here. No bias.
I'm shocked.
No bias. I think he's going to rush the ball a ton. I think in the red zone too, to Shaun's point, I think he's going to score, I'd say he rushes for at least half a dozen touchdowns. The rushing's going to help him. Can he be a successful passer in the NFL? That is really going to be, a top 5 quarterback, or is he going to, kind of sit around 5 to 15 range?
Yeah, my question is not can he be a good passer in the NFL? Because, like, honestly, if you do throw on like his college tape, that it's very clear that he has some type of like next level passing ability. Accurate. How that gets schemed up by Cliff and their offense is kind of up to the environment. But I do have concerns that they got rid of Jahan Dotson. They have Donnie Brown, Terry McLaurin. Like, the pass catching weapons that he has are so minimal now, and Cliff is just going to run Terry McLaurin in the same spot the entire year.
Kyler was still good as a rookie. He still scored like 18.6 fantasy points per game.
Yep. Yeah, Jayden, I hear you. I'm just saying, like, that's kind of like
one.
That's
You're gonna take it. Like, I'm just saying, he's free. Like, round 10,
he's so
and
cheap. And he's gonna run a ton.
Waiting on a quarterback like that, like, again, temper expectations. I think that A-Rich has a way higher ceiling, and I think Kyler has a way higher ceiling, but you could get the discount versions of that just way later in the draft. Yeah, let's go. Sign me up. That's easy money.
All right,
so you
we're
got
on
two QBs here.
Yeah,
two
QBs. Yep. 2 QBs, some Niner action, a lot of Chief action, double dipping on the Commanders, some Cardinal action. You're all over your division right now.
It's like
actually.
he said, like Shaun is like the volatile asset that you're
Yes.
investing in. It's like he's all over the place, but just upside, going for it all.
The Moran coin. Well, why don't you tell us who's booming in the 11th round this year?
Look, if you get first in your league, hell yeah, but you may get last. I'm just telling you straight up. Like, that's just how I play fantasy football. All right, AD Mitchell. Keegan had AD Mitchell here.
Yeah, there we go.
I really bounced between Brian Thomas and AD Mitchell. Brian Thomas was a higher draft pick who plays with probably a more accurate quarterback at this point. But I just don't really believe in the Jags offense. And I'd rather be tied to a promising young player in Shane Steichen's offense than, say, the Jaguars' offense. And then if you look how good of an offseason Mitchell's had, it's been kind of like the perfect run out. He's already iced Alec Pierce in 2 wide receiver sets. Like, he's already the wide receiver 2 in those situations. He replaced Josh Downs once Josh Downs got hurt in the slot. Like, come on. AD Mitchell's speed and route running in the slot. Shane Steichen, you are a nasty person for that, man. That's a bad man energy.
Bad man.
And he's gotten valuable snaps in the first team in the preseason with A-Rich. Like, with A-Rich on the field, Mitchell has a higher target percentage and target per route run than Michael Pittman. Like, I wouldn't have guessed that. Like, he has a higher target share at this point. He's getting like schemed up underneath stuff, scoring touchdowns. Like, it's just, this guy's really talented, and he landed in the perfect situation. And I just love Shane Steichen. So, like, give me all the Shane Steichen stairs I can get. Draft AD Mitchell. I'm in at this point, boys. I've been Mitchell pilled all the way.
Yeah, this was my favorite pick in the same round, Shaun. So I'm curious to hear what Aiden's thoughts are before we move on to the next round.
I like AD Mitchell. The highlights have been super promising during training camp. I think the Josh Downs injury helps him quite a bit. Josh Downs will be back, but AD Mitchell, is going to open the season as the wide receiver 2 there. So I really like it. I went with Corum here, kind of more as like a, insurance plan to Aaron. But I love AD Mitchell here. Mitchell.
Did you just get his name right?
My brain malfunctioned.
You just called him Kyron.
All right, moving on to round 12. No,
Round 12, Shaun. Last pick of your favorites. 12 rounds, 12 Moran picks. How are we finishing this here?
Look, when you can draft a Charger, you do it. You do it every time. You do it every time when you can draft a Charger. Okay, so here's my bet on the Chargers. I think they're going to be way better than people think. I think their offense is going to be much more efficient. Their offensive line is fantastic. And Justin Herbert was engineered in a lab to throw the football. And side note, he got stuck in the elevator with his teammates. He didn't break a sweat. He didn't sweat. That's what Harbaugh said. The man's a beast. Didn't break a sweat in the elevator for 2 hours. That's everything you need to know about this Chargers team and the leader of men that Justin Herbert is. And the reason why I'm talking about Justin Herbert is I think Josh Palmer is going to walk into this offense and be the wide receiver 1. I love Ladd McConkey. Big fan of Ladd McConkey. But Joshua Palmer is the only guy on this team that's caught multiple touchdown passes as a wide receiver from Justin Herbert. He has that continuity. Palmer's statistics when he was playing with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams were still pretty good. This guy earns targets. He's pretty effective. And I think this guy walks into a 1,000-yard season, and you're getting him in the 12th round. Like, it's free. Free money for someone who's going to see 100-plus targets every day of the week, twice on Sunday.
You could do a lot worse in the 12th round.
You really can. There are so many worse picks in this range than drafting somebody who
he'll overperform his ADP.
Without a doubt.
Does he have top 10 or whatever? Probably not. But yeah, to your point, it's he's the only guy that has any real type of experience with Justin Herbert. He's gonna play alongside some combination of Ladd and QJ and whatever dust balls are behind them. So
DJ Jerk. DJ Jerk.
I'm good off DJ. In the 12th round, you could do way worse here. It's kind of crazy as ADP hasn't risen more. It's moved a bit, but pretty firmly here, like way down in the 12th round is pretty great value.
Yeah, I'm bought into that. I think I'll forever be a believer into Justin Herbert and his ability as a quarterback. So until proven otherwise, I think I'm always going to like the idea of drafting his wide receiver 1 in fantasy. That seems like a pretty safe bet when you say it out loud. Justin
I
Herbert's
love
wide
Lad,
receiver
too.
1 in fantasy is going in the 12th round. You can have him for free.
No shade at Lad. We are big proponents of Lad. I think Lad should go higher. Lad has a much higher ceiling. I'm just saying, Josh Palmer's floor is ridiculously solid. Like, he's going to walk out and score like 12 PPR fantasy points per game, and you're getting him for free. So I'm taking it.
Absolutely. Well, we've gone through 12 rounds, Sean.
Yes,
Hayden and I
sir.
have added their feedback on each pick. I like some of the directions you went in, but for the listeners, why don't you recap your 12 rounds real quickly here?
Breece Hall in the first, Devon Achane in the second, Deebo Samuel in the third, Trey McBride in the fourth, Rashee Rice in the fifth, Kyler Murray in the sixth, Xavier Worthy in the seventh, B-Rob in the eighth, JSN in the ninth, Jayden Daniels in the 10th, A.D. Mitchell in the 11th, and Josh Palmer in the 12th. Only 3 running backs make it in the list.
A little light on wide receiver firepower too, depending on how some of those hit. But
well, the thing is I like this is going to be my strategy. Just nail 2 running backs. So you just nail 2 running backs, you're fine. Nail 2 running backs, and the rest of the day you just pick up. You know, when Jalen McMillan's the leading receiver in week 1, it's like, okay, blow the fab on McMillions, and you're fine. You got your receiver, but you definitely won't have that running back on the wire week 1. I promise you that.
Kieran.
Fair.
Kieran?
2023 with Kieran.
Well, Kamani Vidal's 2024, Kieran. But
oh God! All right. Well,
let's
that
get outta
should
here.
do it. Yeah, let's get out of here. That was 12 rounds of Mr. Moran, our boss's favorite picks in fantasy football this year. Thank you for walking that through us, Sean, and thank you to the listeners if you made it this far. We've seen a couple comments about you guys actually staying for the entire video and letting us know. We really appreciate it. Feel free to roast Sean's picks. Something you like, don't like, leave a comment. Yes, I want to hear the Rashee Rice debate.
Someone said that Aiden looks like Shane Gillis. Come on, who do I look like? Let's hear it.
Don't ask. Be careful what you ask for, Sean. Don't open a can of worms. But yeah, that'll do it for today's episode. And thanks for listening, everybody.